Anyways, I have to address why I'm not a Muslim. I'm not, but I have one of these. I think they're really nice. Yeah, but I don't usually wear that, but I think it's really nice. So no, but other than that, people might not understand why I would even have to explain why I'm not a Muslim, because isn't it kind of obvious that I'm not a Muslim? And yes, it is, but see, right now, there are many refugees coming to my country, coming to Germany. Actually, well, right now it's not even that many anymore, but there used to be a period of time, especially, when the Islamic State was like at its height. Of course, there were many refugees, and some of them also came to my country. And then what happened, of course, is that, as you probably know, Germany is a wonderful country with a wonderful history where nothing bad ever happened. Well, no. Germany is, of course, a country with a history of being right-winged, of having right-winged extremists. And I thought there wouldn't be any left, but as it turned out, there still are some right-winged extremists left. And, of course, those right-winged extremists then started acting up and started slandering and attacking those refugees. And then, of course, I was forced into a position where I kind of had to defend them. Now, I am someone who is opposed to right-winged extremism or any kind of extremism anyway, and I always make videos against extremism, and especially I try to expose National Socialism or any form of socialism, really. So anyway, long story short, I was also forced into a position where I had to defend those refugees and speak up for those refugees that get slandered by right-winged extremists. So then what happened is that those right-winged extremists started attacking me. And some of them even spread rumors about me that I would actually be a Muslim. As you probably also know, right now, the Muslims in China, or what used to be called East Turkestan, are being persecuted by the Chinese Communist Party, and they are essentially sent to what amounts to forced labor camps in the millions. And so, of course, I was also speaking out against their being persecuted. And again, this led to the wrong impression that I might be a Muslim. And when it comes to some of my friends who are indeed Muslims, they then actually wanted me to become a Muslim. Now, I do like Muslims. I think there are some wonderful people among Muslims, but of course you can't generalize it. You have good and bad people among every group of people. But I certainly don't think that, there is anything wrong with Muslims as a whole or as people, But again, you can't generalize it, because people in the West, and especially those, for the lack of a better word, Islamophobes or those, right-winged extremists, especially, the ones in Germany that I'm faced with sometimes, they don't understand Muslims at all. They think they do, They pick up like a verse in the Quran that talks about violence, and then they think that all Muslims would be like that. No, they don't even understand Muslims. They think all Muslims would be the same or something. No, of course not. And they don't understand that, strictly speaking, Islam is not one religion. Well, it kind of is, but just like in other religions, just like Christianity, strictly speaking, isn't one religion, and a lot of Muslims are not aware of that either. They think that everybody, well, not everyone, but some people in Islamic countries, some people in Muslim countries who are rather secluded, and there are some people like that. There are some Muslims in secluded areas, and maybe they've never seen a Christian in their life, and they've never been in a Christian country in their life. There are some people like that in secluded areas. It's not the majority. It's a small minority, a small secluded minority. Never in their life have they been to a Western country. Never in their life have they seen have they been in a Christian church, or maybe they looked into one once and didn't understand it and ran away in fear or something because they didn't understand it. So it's those kinds of people. They don't understand. They think that everyone in Western countries would be a Christian, and they think that Christianity is like one religion and that they're all the same. and they think that whatever they are being told by radicals about what the other religion would be like, they think that's how it would actually be, and they don't look at it themselves, and that's the problem. And that's the same problem those right-winged extremists in my country have. They don't understand Islam because they don't even know Muslims. Many of them, in the places where those right-winged extremists are flourishing the most are precisely those places where there are no refugees. Those are precisely the places where the people are the most opposed to refugees. Precisely in those places where there aren't any refugees. And of course, when I talk about refugees, of course, most of those refugees aren't even Muslim, or they might be, but a lot of them are actually fleeing from the Islamic State or fleeing from Muslim terrorists, and not all of them are Muslims. But of course, some of them are also Muslims themselves, of course. But they don't understand it. They think that all refugees coming here, that they would be Muslims, and they don't even think of them as refugees. They call them like what do they call them? They call them hostile invaders. They call them like a hostile invasion force. So if you're fleeing from Muslim extremists, those right-wing extremists, they will call you a hostile invader, because they don't understand it at all. And they've been indoctrinated with a lot of hate and with a lot of prejudice, and they think that everyone from a Middle Eastern country is a Muslim, and they think that every Muslim, they're all the same. They don't even know that there are different Islamic denominations, just like in Christianity, it's not all the same. You have Catholics, you have Protestants, you have Jehovah's Witnesses, you have Mormons, you have all kinds of groups, all kinds of different denominations, and they're very, very different. But collectively, they're all called Christians. So Muslims who don't know Christians think that they're all the same, and they don't even understand that there are also many, many other religions in Western countries, and that of course there are also many, many people who are not religious at all. And it's the same with Muslims. They are all different, and there are also many different Islamic denominations, and they are very different, and oftentimes they even oppose each other. And that's also why a lot of those right-wing extremists, they don't understand. They say, well, if he's a Muslim, why doesn't he go to a Muslim country? Why come to the West? Why doesn't, if there's some reason why he needs to leave his own country, if there is like war in his own country, yeah, okay, we get that. Then he needs to leave his country. Okay, we understand that, but why doesn't he then just go to another Muslim country? They don't understand that even though he might be a Muslim, for example, if he's if he is a Ahmadiyya Muslim, for example, then there isn't a single Muslim country where he could go. In any Muslim country, he would get persecuted. Because even though he is a Muslim, and he regards himself as a Muslim, and we would regard him as a Muslim, other Muslims would not regard him as a Muslim. And not only would they not regard him as a Muslim, they would kind of regard him as a heretic, and they would persecute him, and in many cases they even get killed. So they have all the reason to flee their country. And they do get persecuted, and they really can't go to a Muslim country. Yet the people here, they don't understand this at all and say, well, he's a Muslim, go to a Muslim country. He really can't go. And those are precisely the kinds of people who really need to flee, and who really have all the right to flee to a non-Muslim country. And those are also precisely the most peaceful Muslims, even among the most peaceful people in general. They're really, really peaceful. Yet, those right-wing extremists, they don't want him. No, we don't want the peaceful people. They don't understand that he's peaceful. They think, no, he can't be peaceful. All Muslims are violent. Yes, we read the Quran. It talks about violence. Well, no, you haven't read the Quran. You just read some violent parts in the Quran, and now you think that all Muslims are like that. They're not. Muslims are very different. They're very different denominations, and also individuals differ. You can't. They're really not all the same. But anyway, I wanted to explain why I am not a Muslim. And of course, that's also kind of the reason why I'm not a Muslim. See, most Muslims really are peaceful, and not just the Ahmadiyya Muslims, even the mainstream Muslims, so to say, they're really peaceful. Even though, and that's actually true as well, there are indeed some parts in the Quran and some of the things that Muhammad did that really weren't peaceful at all, even though it's called the religion of peace. But I really looked into it, and you can look into it yourself. There really are some things that Muhammad did that were rather violent, and that's the reason why I don't want to be a Muslim. I don't have any problem with Muslims, and I don't have any problem with faith. And I don't have I don't even have any problem with Jehovah, And now you say Jehovah? Well, why do you say Jehovah? Wouldn't you have to say Allah? Well, Muslims believe that Allah is the same God as Jehovah, and of course, Muslims believe that, but of course, Christians or Jews who actually believe in Jehovah, they wouldn't believe that, and I'm not sure about that either. But Muslims think that it's the same God, so in their eyes it's the same entity as Jehovah, even though they don't even know the name Jehovah. But if that's true, then I certainly wouldn't have a problem with Jehovah, with believing in Jehovah. Certainly not. So then you say, yeah, well, why aren't you a Muslim then? Well, see, and there's also, there are also some contradictions. I don't want to get into it too much, and I don't want to criticize Islam. This is not what this video is supposed to be about. But, for example, a lot of Muslims told me that, even though there is a part in the Quran where it says that, that Muhammad was the first Muslim, and by all accounts, he really is, basically, Muhammad was indeed the first Muslim. And it even says that. Even he himself said that. But then, of course, it also says in the Quran that certain other people that came before Muhammad were the first Muslims, and that there were other, that all the prophets, in Judaism, that they were all Muslims as well. Yeah, which is kind of a contradiction, because that would mean that you can be a Muslim without acknowledging Muhammad, because naturally they couldn't have acknowledged Muhammad because they came before Muhammad. So if that was the case, then I wouldn't have a problem with you know, I wouldn't have as much of a problem with it, you know. But that's actually not the case, because in order to become a Muslim, you actually, and that's why, that's one of the contradictions, one of the many contradictions. So in order to become a Muslim, you actually have to say that you acknowledge Muhammad. And yeah, since I looked into, and also Muslims believe that Muhammad is basically the role model. And of course, they are really being told that he was a great person, and that he did so many good things, but that's not in the Quran, or mostly not directly from the Quran, but it's just basically what their imams and what their what their Islamic scholars tell them. You know, they tell them all those great things about Muhammad and how great he was and how peaceful he was. But if you actually read the Quran and if you actually look into the Hadith, you realize, well, no, he was not as peaceful as they claim. And that's why I don't want to be a Muslim. But you also have to understand, even though, yes, Muhammad did some bad things and he did kill quite a few people, actually, and he did some violent things, that doesn't mean that Muslims are violent. Like I just said, most of them are not even aware of that. Most of them think that he was a wonderful person and that he was peaceful and that he was great and that he didn't do anything wrong. They don't know about the violent parts, because the violent parts are not the parts that their imams and their Islamic scholars are gonna pick and choose. You know, just like the right-wing extremists in my country who oppose Muslims, just like they pick and choose the violent parts, and then try to label all Muslims like that, and try to label all Muslims as being violent, and try to label Islam as a whole as being like that. Just like those right-wing extremists pick and choose the Quran verses that they like, the imams and the Islamic scholars, of course, do the same, and they also pick and choose the Quran verses that they like and that they think their followers will like, and that's why a lot of Muslims aren't even aware of the more violent parts in Muhammad's life. And that's why, even though Muhammad did some violent things, that doesn't mean that Muslims are violent. You know, of course, you know, some are, you know, some have, you know, the in a sense, the Islamic terrorists are actually very similar, or the Islamic extremists are actually very similar to the right-wing extremists in many ways. Oh dear, they don't know how similar they are. You know, they also call everyone in a foreign country a hostile invader. They even use the same terms to demonize people from outside. You know, it's just fear. It's just fear of the unknown. They don't know people in the West, and they're afraid of them. Just like some people in the West don't know people from the Middle East, so they're afraid of them. You're always afraid of what you don't know and what you don't understand. And the radicals in both factions are capitalizing on that. Capitalizing on people's fear, and they're telling them the same horror stories of supposed hostile invaders that would come to their beloved country and rape little children. You know, as you probably know, the right-wing extremists are spreading a lot of horror stories like that. But the Muslim extremists are doing the same. They're spreading the exact same horror stories about people from the West.